Welcome, everybody, to another Two Feathers Medicine broadcast. I am joined by Laura Massey and Dale Tobin once again. Welcome. How you guys doing today?
Really good. Thanks, Andrew. I'm really excited because I love food.
And I'm doing really good, Andrew, as well. Excited because I like to eat a lot of food and overeat a lot. So this is exciting for me. Doing well, thanks, brother. And hello, everyone.
Yeah, hi, everyone.
So everyone that is out there, today we are talking about the mystical, magical power of food. We are going to be going deep into the greater conceptions, perceptions, and receptions of what food can do for you as a magical person. Food has a place of myth within each and every one of us. All of you have had those top meals with those top memories or those unique moments of different forms of interaction. So, Laura, Dale, let's talk about food. From a magical perspective, Dale, what can one do to food at any given moment in time?
So with food, it's about honoring, say, the being or honoring what's been made in front of you and using your alchemical process of the voice and the heart connection to send prayers over the food. So if you've got, say, some meat, and a lot of people get put off with meat because it has a lot of, say, death energy in it, having a revocation ready and placing the revocation, saying it from your own heart, you can actually revoke it and start imprinting sacredness, healing, and all these beautiful, wonderful feelings into the food as well. So with food, you can create as much as you want, as little as you want. It's about the effort you want to put into it. So you can create the food, put the fire, and have that fire alchemy as well. So it's all down to the individual and what they want to do with it. You can just eat it. Sometimes I do. There are times where I just eat it and wolf it down me. I'm so hungry. But innately, when I'm making some food, putting that heart-spaced awareness energy and the ancestral energy is very important. And food can hold so much memory for people. For me personally, I was talking to Andrew earlier about my nan's Yorkshire puddings and how they've time traveled because they were so good, and they give me a smile and make my stomach hungry every time I think about them. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do with food.
So Dale, your microphone is still low. We got people in the chat room asking you to raise your audio levels again.
Does that sound better?
You're too close, so be in your normal position when you're talking.
Does that sound better?
No.
I don't know what's going on there. I've turned the gain up a little bit.
That's much better.
Yes, brilliant. That sounds good.
All right, does that sound better to everyone in the chat room? All right, so Laura, let's go on. What does food and mythical powers of it represent to you?
Food represents sharing, love, joy, nourishment. It represents life force.
All of that is a unique perspective. With that said, let's delve deep into what you can do with your food. But let's start with a memory. Yeah, what are some of your more memorable foods beyond the Yorkshire pudding?
I would say
how they influenced you.
I would say that the memory of when I'm making it kind of gives me the memory of the past when I was younger, and that smell of, the food being made and people getting excited. It's funny when you're making food because the kids kind of straight away, when they have that sense that food's in the house, they're straight down and running around the food. So yeah, for me, it has a lot of memories, and I always think back of my childhood when I'm making food as well, and how important that kind of innocent energy when I was creating it. There are a lot of different meals which stand out for me. I'd say my mum's, she used to make these chicken fajitas, which were incredible. And I've started to make those. And when I make them, it feels like an alchemical process in me and a smile. And when I'm doing it and eating it, it's just pure joy. So it holds a lot of greatness for me and a lot of emotional energy. I do emotionally overeat at times, but I just enjoy those childhood memories, which, it just fills me with happiness. It really does.
So Laura, you have restaurant experience. One of your previous relationships was a professionally trained French chef. and you have a hospitality degree. I get it. And
Yeah.
you've been in the industry a long time. Let's talk about some of the more complicated foods that have come together and how they've made memories for you or the people you've served.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, for me, I've tasted some of the best food I think I've ever tasted with, he was my husband, father of my children. So they grew up as well having excellent food because he was trained in London in the 60s. So in White's Club, St. James's. So it's a real top class restaurant. And then we used to go around and visit people like Raymond Blanc. And I met Raymond Blanc and we ate food at one of his places in England. And I have been in that environment for a great deal of my life and got to taste some amazing food. And what I love about that food is the purity of it and the love and the care and the high standard that is put into that. So everything is made from scratch in these top-notch places. So, when you see Gordon Ramsay and he's shouting about how something isn't right, it is like that. It is very much like that in the industry. And my ex was very much like that too. So I was able to experience food when it came in the back door in the form of a lobster, and you can't get upset about these things. A lobster with its, it's tied up and it's trying to crawl across the shelf, and it makes the waitresses jump when they go in the back fridge. But that's and then yes, it screams when it goes in the hot water, but that everything, the way he prepared his food was with love. He loved food, and I grew to love food because I loved the taste of it. I loved the finished result. And it was, I learned so much just watching, when you watch masters at work like that, any top chef in a kitchen, how cleanly they work and how much respect they have for the food as well. And
exactly.
So many, so much, everything I can think of, even our ice cream was made from scratch. We had an ice cream maker. That wasn't a person, that was a machine. So and we, all the stocks and so on were made totally from scratch, and the gravies, everything like that, or the jus. We're not allowed to say gravy. Yeah.
So some people don't get what from scratch really means. They get it, you're starting from the beginning. Well, let's say the different processes of food, of taste, when they wanted like deglaze a pan, versus your way versus aluminium. Deglaze.
Deglaçage. Yes.
Yeah, deglaçage with port versus wine versus vinegar, what it actually does to the food and the flavors and the unique things. And yesterday when you and I were talking, you told me about a steak process where it was a high level blue cheese they melt into a cream. What was that?
That was, we used to serve fillet steak with a Stilton sauce, and Stilton's a blue cheese, very smelly cheese from the UK, but delicious. So talk about a rich dish, but it was just beautiful. It was just basically, you'd put a drop of wine into a pan, reduce it, which means put it on a low heat and let it. I'm trying to think another word for reduce. Let the water content come off, so it got quite a strong. You got the strong alcohol content. Then you add a drop of cream, and then you crumble the cheese into that. And then you probably finish.
Melts,
and then you finish with a knob of butter, and then that's get napped over the steak. And that's not great if you've got a heart condition, but the taste is divine, and that's. I like Dale. I have some wonderful memories. My mum was a very simple but very good cook. So like many people, I have wonderful memories of simple tastes from childhood. Mm-hmm. But then the flavors got more combined and more complicated. And I started to appreciate the finer taste when I went to catering college, and we were preparing that food ourselves. And then, of course, when I married a chef, then it really excelled.
So
And
let's get out of chefing for a second and
yeah,
mom cooking with love, the Hearthstone
yes.
energy.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is.
What
Yeah.
what makes it that? What gives it the unique flavor that of comfort, whatever you want to call it? What let's define that for everyone.
Care. It's the love and the care that goes in, because they always say, you know, like, isn't it mum's chicken soup? Isn't that a saying you have in
Yes.
America, or grandmother's chicken soup?
Or dad's barbecue.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's the actual it's medicine, isn't it? They're giving you their medicine.
Yes.
And both my parents did that for me.
And it's using those like unique ingredients which have been built over time to be perfect as well. So they've had a lot of trial and error to get that uniqueness of the flavor. So you're like, oh shit, there we go again. That's that flavor. Then you put something else in it, it's completely gone. You're like, so that uniqueness of doing the same, but with that love, repetitive, those tastes as well. Yeah.
And handed down as well.
Yeah.
So it's like we were saying, yeah, grandmother's chicken soup, but it's like mum was shown something from her mum and so on. So it's got that already is alchemy that you're getting, isn't it?
Yes.
You're already getting your ancestral alchemy handed down through this recipe and that recipe. So
the word of mouth, the oral teachers and oral historians that did survive through food.
And then look at all that love and care and the mothering that's gone into that. So the grandmother's love or the great grandmother's love handed down. And that's what makes it so healing as well, because you've got all that ancestral energy in it.
Yes. So my mom, we grew up in a family restaurateur, so we regularly have food conversations. And she likes to study old cookbooks from like the 1700s, 1800s. We like start with 5 cups of lard or 7 sticks of butter, 5 cups of sugar. Yeah, that was the insane amounts that were used back then. And how the different aspects of cooking and the different journeys that came with it. The different the journeys that came with it, like what was survived, what wasn't, what ultimately came, special food magic. So food magic that isn't restaurant, that isn't, how would I say this? Isn't just for ordinary eating, ritualistic food, where we take the next level of intention and we are bringing our higher levels of unique healer's aspect to it. Just as you would give a session to a person, you can give a session to your food.
We did that in the Reiki training, actually, being able to do a treatment to the food to change it, which was interesting.
It does change it too.
Yes.
And it's a co-creation with the food as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is a co-creation with the food. Knowing what you're cooking, does it give off water? You have to prepare for that. Knowing your materials ultimately is knowing the flavors at the end that you're trying to put together.
We're talking about the setup of a kitchen and the space and how we can kind of influence and how can we create more of a sacred kitchen in a way, and how important that is.
Right. So Laura, you've set up kitchens before and you've set up ritual areas. How hard is it to hybrid a ritual area in a kitchen? You're muted.
Sorry.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
When the room's locked, nobody gets
I was going to say we're all muted. Yeah. Yes. So not difficult at all. You just bring in those objects that you use for your normal rituals, just plant them around the kitchen. I could still create, the 7 directions and do the normal sort of rituals, even if it's candles and crystals and the objects, the sacred objects you usually use. You just have them around your kitchen. Even a small kitchen, you can use something to it, and it's also the intent, isn't it? that you
Yes.
go in with related to doing this. So I've done plenty of grandmother soups on my stove, with just a few crystals and with my intention. But you can have them there all the time when you're working too, in your kitchen. It's just, if you're going to go into ceremony and ritual, just remember to open and close sacred space, because obviously other people are going to walk into your kitchen as well at some time.
And as well,
Can
yeah,
you guys go ahead and talk for a second.
Yeah,
I've got to answer something in the background real quick.
Yeah, sure.
no problem.
Yeah.
And yes, Laura, about having that kitchen and being responsible for the energy there, because if you do have children, they could be arguing or anything like that, placed over the kitchen area. And I tend to find that's a lot of denser energy around near the kitchen, the table, because when you've got kids, they start arguing or they start fighting or anything like that. So regularly clearing it out with, say, some sage or some frankincense. Incense is really good, isn't it, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, frankincense and myrrh are great. And obviously sage as well. So it's the same as if you do the whole house, you look after your kitchen area as well. And it goes without saying to keep it clean. I mean, physical cleanliness and spiritual cleanliness do go hand in hand. So you do want a very nice clean kitchen. And you want it, for me, I wanted it a place of joy. So I've often danced around my kitchen, and I do dance when I'm cooking and listen to music when I'm cooking. Anything that just, because food is such a joy for me. So preparing food is a joy. So I think if you can bring anything like that into the food, and if, like you're saying, Dale, if you've had like family arguments or very tense family dinners in a kitchen, you do actually want that area cleared before you start preparing food. And I'm sure you've all heard this millions of times. If you're really upset or somebody's really distressed or depressed and that sort of thing, and they're going to cook for you, just maybe you want to pray extra over that food, because all that energy does go into the food you're eating. If you've had a row and so on, it's maybe best not to eat or not to prepare food till a while, till you've calmed down and let those energies dissipate. Because food is energy, and we're co-creating with that food, with that produce.
And that's it.
And we want it to be the right co-creation, don't we? We're imprinting it.
What turns food into medicine?
Love.
At what level in your food alchemy is food becoming medicine?
Intent and love. And that's a light worker answer, isn't it? So you're going to look for. Okay, I said it.
Chopping the salad.
Top of the salad, exactly.
Oh, there's a whole energy behind it, Andrew, that makes it medicinal for you. It's going back to the ancestral input too, including that in it. Into your whole energy field has to be engrossed and intending that this be healing. And with prayers,
there's next level. It's when you actually do the actual next level of implementation to the work. There's an intent, and then there's the actual word said that could take 5 minutes to 5 hours. And when you're pushing that 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hour, 8 hour work energy with one alchemical creation, let's say it's a soup that's cooked down overnight, or a chunk of beef that's in the barbecue or the smoker. All of those are different ways of cooking from a different energetic elemental source, in which your intention is fully a part of for long periods of time.
Yeah, so I guess it
makes medicine.
So that's like when you actually get the raw produce from the moment that you're purchasing it all the way through to when you're cooking with it, and the different levels of cooking, as you say, like prayers over it while you're cooking, and then maybe it's frozen, and then as it defrosts, prayers over it again.
Exactly. Prayer on top of prayer, much like you do in the ceremonial setup center. except you're doing it through food and not wood. But wood is fully a part of the cooking process, or gas, or whatever else that you're going to cook on. Even if you just have a little 2-burner thing that plugs into the wall, you have a space to create alchemy. You put a pot on there, you put water on there, you have steam. You can be imprinting the steam in the water with the prayers. That can be an ongoing process in which you can breathe in the steam of your own prayers. One must think how to be the alchemizer also. Different way of testing the energies that are coming through you, what it gives to you in that moment, feeling your own prayer process.
And for the ancestral memories, and Andrew, so as when people are preparing food, what does it do? What does it do to the personal ancestral memories? Does that open them up and you start kind
Absolutely.
of yeah.
So if the fetus is planning everything in womb, that means the mom's fetus has planned everything in womb to have that child, right? Which might be, what a can of cream corn am I going to use? Okay. Which is the one form of cream corn that ultimately has turned up to the one that you regularly buy, that's available in your grocery store, that becomes a unique childhood memory through ancestral processing. Yes.
So food is held in our memory then, isn't it?
Yes.
Our DNA. I'm talking about the
source of power. Yes.
Yeah.
It's what activates the mitochondrial power plants.
Yeah. Gives us our life force.
Who remembers the first time they had some like completely unusual food, like liver or tripe?
Yeah.
And no one adventures in the chat room trying tripe.
That's one they give it to dogs over in the UK.
And haggis as well. That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
And what about snails?
Oof.
Yeah. Oh.
My inner child's going, oof.
Pig's feet?
It depends how it would be cooked. If it was cooked in a way that it wouldn't look like a pig's foot, I would enjoy, yeah.
It's always going to look like a foot.
A stump. And the head as well. And a lot of people use like head.
That's the best part. The cheeks are the best part.
And that's it. So when you say eating the heart or the liver, there's a lot of different alchemy there, isn't there, as you're eating the actual
absolutely
heart energy?
as well as nutrients only available to those particular organs.
So I mean, did you want to test your microphone, Andrew?
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it's fine. So man has had a relationship with food ever since he, chased woolly mammoths around with spears, hasn't he? Ever since
man has had a relationship with food since the moment their DNA was created to have a relationship with its food.
Okay. And I know like the indigenous honored every part of the animal that they killed, didn't they?
Yes. And most societies had that in their own way. Everything was used, even down to the hooves for glue. Nothing went to waste.
Yeah.
They had that problem. There was a product from Marks and Spencer's, it's called, in Harrogate, and not Harrogate, in England, sorry. And it was made, firstly, it was made from gelatin. And there was that many complaints about it, they had to change it from gelatin. But I thought it was a good thing because you're kind of using all the materials. I was like, so probably a really good thing to use that as well, because you're using everything, even the bone, or absolutely everything is being used. And you can use, say, the fur or the skin for warmth as well. I think it's really cool when that happens, where everything's used.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's not done with quite the same sort of intent these days, is it? I mean, that's all about a financial gain thing, isn't it? Rather than the honoring, using the whole animal because it's given its life.
Well, again, that's philosophy versus actuality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? So in the philosophy, if the village does use everything, then it's an actuality. But if the culture doesn't actually do it, I mean, the amount of food that goes to waste here in the United States every day is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Food that's perfectly fine. That could be given to homeless shelters or XX or whatever. The state doesn't allow you to do it. You just can't, they arrest people now for just taking food to homeless people.
That's crazy.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that when I used to work at my second job was at Sainsbury's in England, and I was on the cashier on a checkout, and I used to go in the back, and like you say, Andrew, they used to throw away, like tons of the stuff. You used to just see it, and that no one was allowed to touch it at all. The amount of food which would be wasted is, I think they're actually doing something about that in England now. I think they actually give a percentage of it out or cheaper or something, which is good, which is a good step in the right direction anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we choose to become high-level alchemical tasters and alkalizers, meaning we alchemize the process to make an alkalinity in us, a neutral balance within everything. That is something else that food brings us to, that homeostasis moment where everything is in unique balance. The food that we're putting in and the energy that is going out and the emotional stability that creates, that allows greater personal awareness. Why have they dumbed us down about food? We talk about the conspiracy theory. It's a truth. They've taken away the connectivity that food had from the individual to the fast food now. So what is that 16-year-old kid putting in your burger?
His energy or her energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think that does to 65-year-old grandmothers when they eat 16-year-old kid energy?
Screws them up.
Yeah.
And have you had that happen where they're making?
Oh yes.
Now I'm proper conscious about in like the last 4 years. I'm watching them make my food, and you see this proper looks like a crazy person who's like pissed off making your food, and you're there, and he gives you it, and you're like, oh fuck.
Oh fuck! Exactly.
You see the guy in the back making it, like what you always see is hands as well, and they don't wash their hands, or they'll touch money, then they'll touch your food as well. I've had that happen before, and I'm like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then you keep like, oh no.
So Andrew, what you say to the system has actually tried to change our whole relationship with food, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Taking us away from the source, because in some ways that's the only way they can have an effect, because they can't come between you and your co-creation with food, because they don't actually know how you're going to cook or co-create with that raw product. So if they can cut that, the only way they can cut that out is to give you a finished product, like a ready meal, which takes away all the possibilities of alchemy from production.
Or the GMO vegetable combinations that ultimately skew the DNA memory, because there's a DNA that's a part of the GMO that wasn't a part of the original genetic memory.
Yeah.
Which can then change the genetic memory to a different frequency of observation of time, because memories are understanding how the consciousness is observing time go by. And that's ultimately where food products and advertising for food products can have situations like the Mandela effect show up.
So how much
stovetop stuffing? Everybody remembers it, but nobody can find it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and there's dozens and dozens of others like that somehow the genetic memory is whoop, it made it through. Okay.
Yeah.
Why for so long were the British called the blandest food in the world? Because only the rich people got the spice.
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah.
Only the rich people had the spice.
Yeah.
When spice was as expensive as gold. Imagine your pepper or your salt or stuff that's in your common spice cabinet today. Back then would be a five man's fortunes. Think about that. Just shit in your spice rack 300 years ago would be the fortunes of 5 men for their entire life. For a dash of cinnamon that we all take for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all take for granted. When's the last time you had to have roasted pig 5 days in a row? Okay. Okay. because food was seasonal too. Why? Because every season things would grow up. You'd have to kill off the young, determine what's gonna be propagated for the next year. The same thing with the vegetables that would come and go seasonally. And then what vegetables can you cook down in such a way and cover in vinegar and salt that could last? Or how they've learned to prepare foods covered in lard or butter. They put them in clay pots and completely surround them in butter and lard, which would then air seal them, and they'd be good for 4 or 5 years.
I think I can get up to like 4 days of eating the same food. Well, breakfast, eggs, is like my main breakfast choice.
I'm about three. I'm about three. After the third day is definitely not. The third day is the challenge right there.
I did that with a chicken wrap I was having because I was quite busy, so I was just getting some on the go and had it for 4. On the 4th or 5th day, I spit it out. And I can't fucking eat this. Like I was just getting the same over and again, and that was it.
So to have complete control over your food and be able to have give it that alchemical process, you almost need to grow it.
No, you need to know what it is. You need to know what it is first.
Right.
And the way advertising is done here, you're even if it says all natural, you're not guaranteed it's all natural. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's fake advertising that goes all the time, but your intent behind it, and then how you prepare the food. Do you wash it or you just throw it on the pan? Do you massage the meat at all? Like that's normal cooking procedures that no one learns anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you have a piece of meat that's been defrosting all day, what's the first thing you're going to want to do with it? Wash it off, so no slimes on it or anything, and then pat it dry.
Yeah.
Why? What's the worst thing that happened to meat? It's too wet when you're cooking. You're just steam cooking it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Therefore, you got to get the fluid out. And since most meat has water, have high amounts of water injected into it, which you don't know, and you only know by, going through the process of massaging the meat, realizing it's got a lot of water in it. And at some point, it's going to let go that water. Well, what do I do with that? All that's going to be flavor that you want to capture.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? Same with the vegetables. Okay. So knowing what you have just by touching it, feeling it, and then, you start by giving it individual prayer. Help me figure out what I'm going to cook. What ideas do you have, chicken? And chicken's like, well, you can chicken this, you can chicken that, you can chicken this. You can not have chicken today. Okay.
Put me back in the fridge.
Yeah. Put me back in the fridge. Okay. But what does it take for the average kitchen to become a sacred kitchen? Beyond intention, the actual action of doing. And then the follow-through action of foresight. When I do it again, what else can I do to prepare the kitchen to be prepared cleanliness energetically for me to be in that space to create? That's what it requires. The mechanics of actual doing.
And that is the thing the system can't take away from you, is that co-creation you're having with the food.
Right. Food is the last place where magic exists.
Yeah.
And it can't get rid of it unless it's all TV dinners.
Yeah. Because someone's always going to come up with a new recipe. I mean, I'm sure most of us do a lot of the time, don't we? Come up with something totally new or a new take on something.
Correct. Everybody's made their version of their unique peanut butter sandwich with whatever's on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a person do peanut butter ice cream and chocolate chip cookies onto a sandwich. Great. I want to try one. I'm not going to eat it regularly. Okay. Deep fried Twinkies. Have you ever been in the South here in the United States? It's a huge thing.
Yeah.
A deep fried Twinkie.
Deep fried Mars bars and Snickers in the fish and chip shops in the UK.
Oh, in Scotland.
Yeah.
We'll try one when we're on the tour.
Yeah. I like game pheasant's nice. I used to work at a shooting lounge called the Sportsman's Arms, and we used to have lords and all sorts of characters there through the shoot season. And they used to be there drinking till probably about 5 a.m. and you had to kick them out. They were all like rowdy. They just wouldn't leave, just spending thousands of pounds. And we sold stuff like pheasant and grouse and on all sorts of different things like that, which are incredible. The deer as well. I love roe deer and the tenderloin from the deer as well. So it opened me up for a lot of different ideas. And I went in there, hated it. I hated the idea of eating a deer for some reason because of Bambi or something like that 15 years ago. Then I was like, all right, I'm going to tell my brain to switch off, because with food, I find the brain is usually the thing what puts you off. So if when I quieten this brain and not let it judge what I'm eating, it's usually a totally different experience. Instead of the brain going, fucking, fuck no.
Right. So the first time I had brain or tongue. Now, it was brought on to me both times it was brought on to me very fast. I didn't have a chance to react. I had a choice, brain or tongue. Okay. I chose brain the first time. Now, it was a sheep's brain that was in this unique Mexican sauce. And beginning, my mind was rejecting it, though. I will let everyone know. I will try just about everything once. There are things I will reject, though. So the brains, they're maybe that big. Okay. And they're oftentimes cut in half or quartered, so 2 pieces or 4 pieces. So when you bite into one, the imagination versus texture, the texture matches your imagination of what the brain would look like or feel like. It is spongy, full of flavor, but it has all these little ridges and arcs and things. So like Braille, reading Braille, you could feel the texture of the brain. It was quite tasty. My mind couldn't get over the texture. Okay. I finished eating it. I'm like, ooh, okay, that was great. That was great. And then the tongue came. Okay. And this was when I was in Mexico. The tongue, oh my God, the most succulent piece of meat I've ever had. Could I get over it being a tongue? So just like the brain, I had the tongue part, but my taste won out. And I could feel the rejection. No more tongue. I'll finish this tongue. Okay. And it finally, pleasure of flavor won out versus whatever was rejecting in the mind.
I had that with like chicken skin. I love chicken skin, and it's crisp up with some flavor, and I'm there eating it, seeing like the hair still, and I'm like, fuck it. My brain's trying to tell me not. Yeah. Look at what the fuck it is. I'm eating the hair, seeing it go to me. I'm like, shut up. It tastes so fucking good. Chicken skin is like one of my favorite.
But when I was in my light worker mode, I mean, both Dale and I have done this. My mind was able to convince me that chicken in front of me, that I've always loved chicken. And my mind started to see it running around as a chicken, and I was taking its life, and I shouldn't be eating it, and actually managed to change the taste of it in my mouth. So I found it repulsive to eat. But that was going from mind and not from heart.
Right.
Because as a kid, and always still, I've enjoyed my meat, love my chicken, and was joyful on it. Yeah, joyful eating it.
Bambi tastes really good too. Venison.
Yes. And feels the other thing very controversial that got over here.
Goose liver, very controversial.
Oh, that's even more. Oh, foie gras.
Yeah,
foie gras. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it tastes divine, doesn't it? We were saying that
absolutely
yesterday.
Divine. Yeah. And then there's the alchemy of cooking in duck fat.
Yes.
Have I had head cheese? Come on. I'm Greek.
Yes.
I've had head cheese. I've made my own head cheese.
That word, head cheese, I can't get.
I don't know what's head cheese.
It's pieces and parts from the head of the pig.
Okay.
The cheeks are extremely tender and moist. The forehead's got a different flavor meat to it than the back of the neck and behind the ears. All that meat is very, very unique in flavors, and that's what head cheese is. And it could also be anything from tail to snout. Not just the head.
So, Andrew, we are and you've covered this subject before, but maybe we can just look at it again. We're going to have some vegan listeners, some vegan viewers on this. So before, you have explained how animals come in with karma, same as us, and we're on a karmic resolving planet, etc. So the need to eat meat is part of the karmic cycle.
As well as there are DNA lineages who are not supposed to be eating meat or be meat-centric at all. So there are 128,000 different human lineages active on the surface of our world. That's the huge variety. 70% of those are omnivorous, meaning they will eat whatever's available to them, not one more than the other. Okay. And that remains the 30% remaining. 15% are pure vegetarian, and then the final 15% are pure carnivore. So the vast majority of human lineages are omnivorous. They'll eat whatever is available. Okay. But that also comes from a seasonal agrarian culture and society versus a hunter-gatherer society, which would be nuts and berries oriented, because that's what you could get the most of until such a time that you just nomaded into the next place that had the next seasonal vegetables always available that were protein-based. Now, when we come to our modern society, the hardest part about being a vegan is being a good vegan. Like any other eating process, being a good person the way you eat, knowing what you're eating, the protein that you're getting, and doing the basic math. Am I actually getting protein that is giving me processing power every day? Bad vegans end up not having protein and getting sick. A good vegan knows how to shop and understands the expense behind it and makes sure that everything that they eat has protein in it. And they don't live off protein powders or protein bars. That's being a bad vegan. The same thing applies to a meat eater, eating way too much meat versus not having any vegetables. Okay. Learning to balance all of those and making sure that you're getting the protein from the amount of work that you do daily, monthly, and weekly. If you can understand that basic math, coming to terms with a diet is not hard. It's going to be commitment, courage, and discipline that keeps you on that diet, doing it right, and educating yourself how to cook, how to shop, how to effectively buy things and make them last longer.
And have you seen those actual, I can't get it, those like meals that they're selling left, right, and center now, like a shake?
So like HelloFresh, great ideas, but is the price of delivery to your house versus actually going and buying it at the end of the month, does it add up? If you're a person that shops once a month, that's probably great for you. If you're a person that shops for a family of 4, that's a ripoff for you. Other than the fact that it's a pre-prepared meal, then all you got to do is open it up and throw everything into one container, and it's done in a matter of minutes. Okay? A mother of 4 has to cook for how many people? Think about it. A 2-year-old does not eat as much as an 8-year-old. An 8-year-old might not want to eat anything or will eat everything else. Okay. And then there's the potential, is the father there or not? And then the mother has to eat too. And then somebody has to do the dishes. Mm-hmm. Okay. The grand balance of that ultimately determines why this instant gratification society has moved to faster food systems, which has taken our connectivity from food away. How many of you have had a frozen pizza and you'd added stuff to it on it, made it one of the more amazing memories of life? Everyone's done that. Can you make that frozen pizza sacred? Absolutely you can. Okay? Absolutely you can. What I learned is have a big pan. As soon as you think the pizza's done cooking and you know that crust is just about done, get a big pan out, one that could hold the whole 10-inch pizza, put a little bit of olive oil on there, put it on medium-high heat, and let it finish cooking from the bottom with the oil spread out amongst it. It'll finish cooking the crust all the way through, give you a crunch factor, and then you get this bottom-up heating instead of this top-down heating energy, which actually finishes cooking everything on the inside, which is why most frozen pizzas taste weird. It's the way you heat it. Like, Laura, what's the first rule if you're going to cook something into the oven? Get it to close as the heat as possible, right? All the way down on the levels versus cooking it on the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Why do kids not know that anymore?
Because everything's fast. I want it now.
I want it now. I want my instant gratification. I want my goddamn burger.
I want my pot noodle. If anybody's familiar with pot noodles, I grew up on those. What's for tea? Pot noodle and bread.
But there's other things as well, like the old working mum thing, and not having, in my generation, I was able to spend time with my mum in the kitchen. That isn't the case now. The children aren't necessarily getting that time with their mums in the kitchen. So things aren't getting handed down to them either.
Right.
I'm not sure when that changed.
The whole family units broke down when there began the longer term process of everyone in the family had to work, mother and father.
Yes, which is when they started to put people more into survival.
Correct. Which then created latchkey kids and after school specials where people could go and kids could meet in a place where there was no adult supervision.
And then families are under such pressure that they're tired. Both parents are tired when they get in from work, and it can be late because they've had to pick the kids up from childcare and so on. And so the quickest thing is to have a takeout. It's not the cheapest thing, but it's actually the least hassle for them. And I think it's important also to say, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having takeouts or having...
there's nothing wrong with it.
It's all part of the experience of life. I think it's just getting the balance so that our children grow up knowing what fresh food is, as well as knowing what a McDonald's is.
Or what a sit-down restaurant is. And
Yes.
oftentimes sit-down restaurants are as expensive as McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay. And people don't realize, when you go and have, especially the people that get the food deliveries or this or that, the actual price of going to a grocery store and putting together a meal could be 1/2 to 1/4 the price.
Yeah.
And you're feeding 4, not 1. Your $9 at McDonald's. Yeah. And yes, it's pretty easy to get to a $9 bill at McDonald's for a standard value meal or Burger King or this, but that $9 at McDonald's versus $9 at Five Guys or this person's is going to be convenience. Okay. Versus the $9 in ground beef you could buy, which would be like, 2.25 pounds. Okay. Which would make like all that much more food. Okay. I remember having this long-term conversation with a friend of mine that all he did was eat out. And classic person, eat out and drink a lot of alcohol. And after a motorcycle accident, he wanted to clean up, and he went and did a big round of colonics and realized, that's 20 years of fast food coming out of him. Okay. 20 years of eating fast food. Okay.
Didn't you have that story?
And then like he would burn water, burn toast. Okay. That's how incompetent in cooking he was.
Did you have that story, Andrew? I remember a while ago on one of the shows you said about someone who was addicted to McDonald's and they went for a colonic and they got rid of a ridiculous amount of weight.
You're the same person. Same person.
Yeah.
Like 41 pounds
Yeah.
over 15 colonics. But he was also 6'9". He was not small. He was a bouncer at a strip club. So yes. So alcohol and fast food coming out.
So here's another thing that I think is possibly a myth: calories, because it keeps.
No, calories is not a myth. It's the understanding is, are there hollow calories, fast calories? What kind of metabolism you have? Everybody thinks they know what metabolism they have until they realize, if you eat carbs, like a big plate of pasta at 4 days a week, your metabolism has changed for at least a month and a half. Yes, your metabolism can change that fast. And but no, it doesn't. My metabolism is the same all the time. No, you are just giving yourself a consistent amount of food that makes it appear. But as soon as you give it something else, it's not that anymore what you believe it to be. It takes a while for it to change back. So ultimately, calories is not it's you have to know, is it a hollow calorie? Is it a carb calorie? Is it a sugar calorie? Is it a long chain carbohydrate that takes a long time for it to break down, but it's giving me energy continuously? Education comes into the calories. And this is where so many people in the vegetarian side who are bad vegetarians, they can't do the the calorie calculator. If this has 100 calories, but costs you 150 calories to burn, what is your net positive? Nothing.
And as far as spirituality and doing like ceremony or meditation or anything like that, how much calories do we burn more when we're doing spiritual high energy work?
Triple, quadruple, 10 times. There have been many powerful spiritual experiences that I've had that cost me 5,000 calories. Easy. And the next day, like, where'd it go? Okay. Everybody's had that moment.
Yeah.
Everybody's had that moment.
It's
Everybody's had that moment.
like studying as well. When you're studying for something, the brain uses a lot of calories, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Uses a lot of calories. But what kind of calories is it burning?
Go on.
Okay. Where's it gathering it from?
Glucose.
Sugars, carbs.
Yeah.
Instantly available converted energy. Let's say you've burned up all the carbs in your intestinal tract. What happens then? And you're still studying.
So what does it start eating next? Not muscle.
Yep. Immediately muscle.
Right. Okay.
As soon as there is no on-demand energy, it goes immediately into doing muscle, which creates body-based depression. Science, go look it up.
Yeah.
Diet 101. If you want to take me for the truth, go and read about it all yourself, how fast you will eat your own muscle. And there are people that, because of the type of diet they have, they're forever eating their own muscle and growing their own muscle, and that's why they get fat very fast. Yeah? They're doing the opposite of everything that their body's telling them.
And that's what a lot of people don't really listen to the body, do they? About the amount of people who come to see me and they're in quite a bad state with the eating.
They don't listen or have no awareness they should be listening.
Yeah. It's just like something turned on, like a program, which they just won't be aware of what's really going on. I've been there.
Yeah, well, me too. And if you think, I didn't realize about needing 40 grams of protein a day until Andrew said. I mean, it took a Galactichistorian to tell me how to eat.
The world standard for the last 50 years.
Yeah, I don't know. It took you to tell me. It took you to tell me not to eat porridge. What is this English obsession with porridge for breakfast? Eat eggs.
I can't eat porridge.
You can have porridge. You just need something else to balance with it. Otherwise, as soon as you're done burning that up, you're burning fat immediately. You're burning muscle immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as you're done with the porridge. Yeah. And why would people eat porridge? Okay, because they had to go to the fields to work. It was instant energy.
Yes.
But also porridge in the 1700s is not the porridge that you would have today. That porridge could have like 4,500 calories in it because it was cooked with a pound of lard. And had chunks of bacon that were the size of your thumb in it. Okay.
Bacon and porridge, that's one to try.
Yes, bacon and porridge. Anything that had fat in it.
Like some bacon in that, darling.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anything that had fat in it. Imagine your porridge being cooked in a pound of lard. A pound of lard. What are the calories in the pound of lard? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That porridge is stacked full of calories that could last you all the way to the lunchtime. You wouldn't run out of calorie power.
Yeah, I guess they ate more animal fat in those days too.
Fat was absolutely necessary to survive on.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be in my DNA because I do love some of the animal fat.
There are many people like in the early times of getting out in the United States in the 1500s, 1600s, that they would be living off of elk or deer, which had virtually no fat on them. And they could have 3 meals a day and still die of starvation. Imagine that. Filling up on deer steaks the entire time and still dying of starvation. That's why fat was so necessary.
And remember that marketing. I remember growing up and all you saw was from the shops or advertisement was fat free is healthy. So there was like a marketing movement.
Which was completely opposite of the truth. Yes.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah. And then it was don't eat eggs, wasn't it, over here?
Yep.
There was something
eat eggs,
wrong
and then
with
don't
you.
eat eggs, and then eat eggs, and don't eat eggs. And you see that all the time. Don't eat this, but eat this. And then they completely contradict themselves the next day.
Yeah. It came in the 70s over here. So instead of having the full English breakfast, you had to have this nimble bread, which had basically nothing in it, and flora instead of butter.
So imagine this. You're a day laborer, a field hand laborer for something. So you loaded full of carbs all day long, and you can't drink the water because it's poisonous. It will give you yellow fever or whatever. So you're given alcohol all day long, even if it's at 1.5%. You're still drinking alcohol all day long. And then when it comes to dinner, you're given this gigantically hunk of meat and broth and carbs that would make you go to sleep. And then they'd give you a beer that usually had some kind of suppressant in it at night also. Okay. So you go right to sleep. Right. So you could wake up at the crack of dawn to do it 6 days a week. Backbreaking work.
You wouldn't have a long life, that's for sure.
Right. You wouldn't have a long life. Okay. You get muscular really fast. Okay. But as soon as you're out of that work, all that shit would go away. I reiterate, imagine eating something cooked in a pound of lard, and all that lard is put onto the plate for you to lick up at the end.
You wouldn't want to waste that food, will you, like we do now?
No, you would never waste that food.
You'd have to have all of it to give you that energy, because you'd fucking need it.
You're going to need it. Okay.
So these, diet to lose weight type meals, and
they're there for the undisciplined who want to learn how to be disciplined, and for the very lazy who believe they can beat lazy by having somebody else cook for them. Sometimes it works. Well, the whole point of the diet is commitment, courage, and long-term discipline. I've seen many people with the meal ready to eat systems were perfect for them. And then there are others, they just rotted in the refrigerator because I don't want to eat that. They're full on food snob. So we're at a point where we're going to ask people to, in the chat room, give us some of your food magic stories. Anybody out there? Epileptics? Epileptics. Okay, I read it wrong. Yeah, everybody has different things in the way that makes their bodies digest food differently. And we were touching on that earlier. There are a lot of people who create stories in their mind. I had a friend, never eaten seafood their whole life, never once, and has created a story that I'm allergic to it, even though they have never actually eaten it. So how would you know you're allergic to it? Because they created a no in their mind at such an early age, and it was the only way they could control their environment was through food. Okay? And now you run across people that are so picky on absolutely everything, you can never get it right for them, ever.
And that's where the programs have come into control.
Right. The programs that come into control that ultimately turn into other negative food programming, from anorexia to bulimia and all those other stuff.
And does so many of those start in childhood as well? And can they be picked up from the parents?
Or created by the child through rebellion, because food is how they can control their reality.
There was that case, do you remember, Laura, and that lady in England who was on Big Brother, who had that problem, and she starved to death. I can't remember the name of it now, but she came onto something called Big Brother in England. It's like a show on Channel 5. And she got really famous because of her personality. She used to break down all the time, though, used to scream and have tantrums. And she got quite famous, did loads of presenting. And over the period of time of 7 years, she just disintegrated. Then the lockdown just killed her. She couldn't eat any food. And it was quite a serious extension of how serious it is for some people, of how it can kill you. I've
run into them in private sessions. And at that point, when you're that far off, that's a food demon. Starvation demon. And yes, that's linked to history's past where people starve to death. Very common experience amongst human beings. And one of those, the other common experience that we all share is shitting to death from diarrhea. Diarrhea has killed every human being. Everybody has shares that experience. Coughing to death also.
So for ghosts with food, like say somebody's heavily haunted, could they influence the person to eat carbs? Is that something they do?
Absolutely. Yes. That's the first way most ghosts learn how to control an environment of a person. Man, the ghost is dead and they know they can't eat real food. But if I go steak, and the guy has a steak and I can taste it through him, that's the first energy levels of energy harvesting. And that's how they learn to manipulate subconsciously.
No pizza tonight then. Who's this coming from? It's me. It's fine.
So what's this thing about it's better to eat protein nearer bedtime than it is carbohydrates for a cleaner dream world?
So why would you eat carbs before you're going to go to bed if you're going to load yourself up full of carbs to keep yourself awake? But it would just instantly turn into fat. You tell your body, here's all the carbs that you're supposed to use. And the body's like, I'm going to sleep now. And then the sleep part of the body says, all right, carbs are turned into fat. They're not turned into muscle.
No, but do carbs help you sleep? Like when you've eaten a lot of carbs, it makes you sleepy.
There's a carb crash. That means after the carbs have used out, you've had the crash, or you've got so much carbs, the body wants to sleep right away.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You ever had it where you've had a pizza and it's really salty and you wake up like 4 times needing a drink? It's awful. Yep. You feel it after you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't eat this last night. Like, waking up to the bar like, ah.
That's like Marmite.
Yes.
So why would you eat carbs before you went to bed? Is that the light worker thing?
No, I'm saying it's better to eat protein than carbs because
no, you're better off not eating before going to bed at all.
When are we talking about? What's the gap?
At least 3 hours between your meal and going to sleep.
Whoops.
I'm a secret supper eater.
Yes, I'm a secret supper eater too.
No, I'm a second lunch and second dinner person.
Second breakfast.
Okay? So no. So I'm just as guilty. But if you look at the science, and people can disagree or not, it's generally 2 to 3 hours you want to have not eaten anything before you go to sleep. And that's assuming you're going to get a full 8 hours of sleep.
And so for the intermittent fasting, I think you've touched on it before, but it's huge now. From my understanding of it, it's good in short spells now and then, but to do it regularly every day you'd need fuel, wouldn't you? Would it cause positive or negative effect on you if people are doing it for, say, 4 months?
So most people don't actually know why they're fasting. They're fasting because they think they're cleaning their colon out, or they're thinking they're doing this or this. And if you do fasting wrong, you can really, really screw yourself up. If you're going to fast, you got to learn how to build endurance up. A 3-day fast, once every 4 months, every 5 months, or every 6 months. You can go 3 days without eating food and having extra fluids of water. Great to flush the system out. Great to do extra exercise and spiritual prayers during that time. And the next time you do it, you want to go to try to 5 days. That means at the end of the year, if you're doing it twice a year, you've gone a 3-day and a 5-day. That means 8 days of no food. You've learned how to increase your endurance and ability to hold off temptation or the other desires to have food. And that's tempering your own ability. Now, there are these people who say you should fast every 5 days or every 12 days. That's all fucking bullshit and garbage. Yeah. And a lot of that comes from the over-vegetarian eating societies that were monks. Monks never ate like the way monks like they do on television. They ate what was ever there. Most of them were not vegetarian. Sorry for everyone. Okay. Vegetarian is something very brand new. Okay. Pure vegetarianism or pure veganism the way it is. You ate what was available to you. Okay. Or you starved. Okay. So in the situations that we find today, and people who are, let's say, trying to fast twice a month, stop bullshitting yourself. Stop saying you're doing it for a personal purpose. There are a lot of people that will do that just to save on food money because they'd rather spend it at the bar or buy a new piece of clothing.
So what's this? I was told if you do like a 16-hour fast, say once a week, so you don't eat after you've had your evening meal, and then 16 hours from that. So roughly 8 hours is taken up sleeping, which is perfect.
Which is build muscle phase.
Okay, so I was told that kickstarted your metabolism if you did this like once or twice a week.
It can, but everybody's metabolism is far more malleable than you believe. Everybody thinks it's one and just is that. No, it changes all the time, and you're just unaware of it. Okay, if you're trying to kickstart your metabolism, you then have to have the follow-up. Okay, what's the point if you're trying to build muscle or you're trying to just lose weight? In all reality, anybody that is super serious about wanting to actually lose weight and finds the commitment, courage, and discipline, you actually have to put on muscle to lose weight faster. You have to go into weight training, separating the arms and the legs and the core and all the different muscles. They all get their full exercise and workout, shorter reps, higher and mid to higher weight counts until you build yourself up. That is where the weight will fly on and the muscle will come back on. And then healthy living after that is the continuing commitment and courage to balance the muscle that we're putting on. And then the cardio work will be doing. Cardio does not burn fat. Okay. Yet all these people want to make you think cardio burns fat. No, cardio is for overall body health, wellness, and the vascular system. Okay. Having a good heart cardio also means that you can go longer for exercising. So at the point that you're beginning to build yourself up with the commitment and courage to stick with a diet, measure your protein, and actually do the exercise that's not cardio, you lose weight faster than you could. Or you go on something like the pure protein diet with no carbs and no sugars. What is it? Atkins diet. The Atkins diet. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know people that lose 50 pounds in 2-3 months, 60 pounds in 2-3 months. But as soon as they go off that diet, the weight comes right back on. Okay.
I found that.
Go ahead.
No, go on, Andrew. You finish off.
That is where so many people misunderstand what their metabolism is. Okay. When you're on the Atkins diet and you have no carbs and no sugars, you have trained the body to burn fat over muscle. That means your metabolism is taking fat, something that takes a very long time to break down, and the body's enforcing breaking as much fat down as possible for daily energy. There is no sugar, there is no carb, other than the minor gram or two you have here or there. The body is leaning itself, using the fat intentionally. Okay, versus somebody who's building muscle. They're actually proteining. They're at the 100 grams of protein or 150 grams of protein, and they're intending, as they're burning fat, they're creating more muscle. And this is where advanced yoga, weightlifting, and standard cardio is the absolute best thing one can do for changing themselves, because it's what fosters long-term commitment and courage.
And just a quick question about exercise. So if you're wanting to burn fat and build muscle, so what about like boxing or, hitting bags and stuff like that? And what's your opinion on that? Because I'm currently wanting to do something like, I don't know, maybe jiu-jitsu or something. What's a karma with, punching and stuff like that? What would you recommend for someone who's wanting to do martial arts?
Any fighting exercise expression, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. In fact, I absolutely encourage everyone to go and do it and try it. Why? Because it's a different form of exercise, a different form of getting pleasure from exercise. I know people that just cannot do the weights. They can't sit on the exercise bike, but as soon as they go and do jujitsu and roll around on the mat for an hour and have a half-hour talk, they lose weight faster than anything, because the commitment to the education is there.
So, Andrew, What about detoxing as a means of losing weight? Because when I did I started on one of your detoxes, which was basically a juice for breakfast, a juice for lunch, and then eat what you like for a dinner, as long as it wasn't pork, I think. I lost weight pretty quickly.
Sure, because you are juicing,
Mm.
but the weight can come back on very fast. You should not be cleansing to lose weight. And that's something the weight loss industry has hijacked to the negative side of what colon cleansing is. They advertise, come and get 10 colon cleanses in 5 days and you'll lose 30 pounds. That's 30 pounds of fluids. Okay.
Yeah, but also they sell you these drinks, don't they? That is supposed to have all the nutrients in, so you just have a drink,
right,
for breakfast or lunch.
Changes your satisfaction process, and a lot of people can't sit with the drink, or the drink becomes their cigarette. It's a dopamine release to beat the negative food programming.
So let's talk about some of this negative programming that comes into us at childhood. So first of all, what's a good way as we get older? First of all, we'd have to recognize that it's a program, and then we'd have to overwrite the program.
And override it in such a way it doesn't come back.
Yeah. So that again is the courage and commitment to do not just revocations, but actually changing the way you eat.
Right. Well, and most people don't actually chew their food enough. It's very, very common. The first thing the colonics person's going to tell you when they see shit going down, you don't chew your food enough. Because they can absolutely tell by coming out. Okay. They can tell if you chew your food or not. If you were to just consciously, actively chew your food for much more effectively, you could change your diet and lose weight faster than you'd know.
But I guess so many of us are in such a rush in life is part of it.
Well, food has been rushed. You have the half-hour lunch meal break, which is a corporate imprint into humanity, versus the generally hour labor. If you're a day laborer, you'd have an hour labor break. That means that half hour to eat your food and half hour to let it settle before you went back to work. Okay. Or splitting up the labor, during, 2 5-hour sessions instead of 1 8-hour session. You get far better work out of people that way, especially in the fields. Ultimately, so many people choose colon cleansing to lose weight when it's the wrong reason. You should be colon cleansing for colon cleansing state. And the energy that it gives you back to go and do other things.
And if you chew your food, when you go for a colonic, it won't hurt as much.
Well, not only that, they can literally tell. I mean, we've all had those moments, where it's like a glacier breaking off and trying to go through a little hole. It's like, okay, and then comes through. We've all had that moment.
I had that on my 5th colonic. I was in that much pain. I just wanted to tell them to just get it out. I want to go. And I was there like, I should have chewed my food properly. I had to change the way I was chewing and processing food. It was really bad pain, that.
You were clogged up a lot. Yeah, you were clogged up a lot. That's why. And you had a lot of petrified stuff in there.
There was a time where I did a colonic, which was one of the greatest colonics. So I'll always remember it. I did probably about half an hour, 40 minutes of breathing exercises before continuing on when I was sat down doing the colonic, and the amount of release I had from doing that breathing was fucking phenomenal. She was like, wow, I've never seen anything come out like this. And I was just so relaxed, and my feet started pins and needles. Yeah, shaking. I couldn't feel my fingers. I couldn't feel my feet. And I was there shaking, and she was like, "You all right?" I was like, "Yeah, just can't feel shit."
You had brought in enough oxygen that the body begins the high vibration. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I always wanted to know what that was.
So just looking at a couple of questions in the chat here, Andrew. So from Santo, where did the concept of breatharian come from?
Some idiot light workers from India, probably.
It sounds like all you're going to get on that, Santo.
You see stories, don't you, of like they say this guy's like 145 and he's just been living off breath, and he's there and he looks like he's pretty much a corpse, but he's got nothing there, but he's still going. And I'm like, that fucked with me a little bit. I was like, is he? I was like, is he not?
Are we
light
opening?
workers are some of the dumbest people out there.
Are we opening up the room today because it's 8:20?
No, we're gonna keep the room locked.
Oh, but I don't mean open it. So are we going to have
Call
hands up to answer questions? Yes,
we're going to take questions. Yes,
that's what I mean. Okay.
So ask people to go ahead and raise hands.
There you go. You heard him, guys. Raise your hands and come on.
Raise your hands for the bacon.
All righty. Let's give Amy Krusik send you a signal, ask to unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. You want to turn your video on?
Let's see. My internet's been cranky today. We'll try it. Unable to start video. Oh.
We have the room locked. Sorry about that. We're just going to leave the video off for right now.
Good. All right.
So, what did you think of today's show?
Oh, it was awesome. You brought back a lot of memories of like just my childhood foods I miss.
Like what?
Well, like my mom's cinnamon bread, but I've perfected it. The homemade pastas and Italian Irish were basically, my mom was Irish and cooked Italian. So, that was always
a lot of potatoes and tomato sauce.
Yes. Oh my God. And then you brought back, my dad used to make prosciutto. So I'm learning that, wow, he was alchemizing food.
Yeah.
And he made his own wine. It didn't taste that great, but he did it,
Right. He was learning. He was following his roots.
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome. That was so awesome. So thank you for that. What else was this? Have you ever heard of food combining?
In what aspect?
So I went for my first 2 colonics.
Ooh, tell us. Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, okay. Well, first, Andrew, I was like, I'm never doing that. No, never. And I'm like, something just said, do it, like knock, knock, it's time. So I did. And this lady that I found, it's the closed system and she does it 2 in a row. She says, you have to come 2 days in a row.
Yes. I love that idea.
Yeah. She's like, because we only got the first day, we only got to the transverse part of the colon.
Yep.
And then the second day, she said, the reason why I have you come is because we need to go to the ascending colon. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I didn't lose weight from it. It wasn't like I was going, it was like nothing, but all the junk that came out and all the food that I wasn't chewing and the worms, the eggs. She says, you have lots of eggs. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it was really cool. It was, I was so full of energy. It was unbelievable. So full of energy.
Right. Because all that shit that you got out was occupying energy for you.
Yeah.
You're keeping it alive. Yes.
Yeah. And she was explaining about the liver and my pancreas and I was having trouble with my eyes, not functioning, and it cleared up. It's connected. The eyes connected to the, yes. I can't wait to go back. Honestly.
80% of your immune system exists inside your intestinal tract.
Oh. Now she did say, what about the, oh my gosh, what do you call it when you yeast?
Candida.
Oh, yeah. Candida. So I think she kind of said we haven't even gotten to there yet. I didn't see anything coming through yet.
it'll come down to this white foam that'll last for like
Mhm.
4 or 5 minutes, followed up by the stuff creating the white foam.
Yes, that's
So
exactly
have you
like
ever
beer.
had a bowel
like the,
movement and you ever had a bowel movement, you look down it and there's bubbles everywhere? That's candida.
Oh,
If there's
okay.
bubbles around little turdlets that are floating, that's
Yeah.
candida. Sometimes you'll see hundreds and thousands of bubbles. That's candida. That means you're purging a section of candida out.
Ooh. Well, I can't wait to go back for that because I know that definitely needs to happen. But she also said that floaters are good. You want your poop to float.
Sure, but you don't want bubbles coming out of them while they're
No, you
floating.
don't want bubbles coming out.
And what
But
about the
yeah.
parasites? What about the parasites related to Amy as well? What do you recommend for that? Holder Clark.
After you're done with this, you can ask your colonics person for a parasite cleanse that they like. I prefer the Holder Clark method because it's all encompassing and it'll kill shit off really fast. And it's very complementative for people that are doing their first set of colonics.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. I did get a probiotic and a prebiotic.
You,
I don't
Yeah,
know,
but that's
that-
just to restart your system
that's-
afterwards. Yeah.
Are
Okay.
you talking about the long Holder Clark one? I think how many
Yes.
weeks? Yeah, not
18 days.
Parazap, which I tried, which didn't do anything. The fast one.
Okay, I'll
Well,
definitely
there's
do
a
that.
version without the zap. There's a version without the zap.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just
But
do the
that's
basic
where you
one.
shit out. That's where you shit out the dead octopus with the zap. That'll look like a dead octopus. What the fuck is that? It's got arms and legs.
Oh my God, that was awesome. So yeah, so that you were just talking about colonics, so that was kind of cool. I just had it done a couple days ago. So exciting. So food combining, that's what she was telling me about food combining. She said it's very important for your digestion that you don't combine proteins and starches together, that you eat first and then
Right.
you wait 3 hours and eat the starch
So-
later.
So
Yeah.
when you get a meal that's a double serving of pasta with 12 ounces of chicken next to it at a restaurant, what's it doing to you?
Oh,
Wrong thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And that's true. That's absolutely what she's talking about is absolutely true. That's why if you're
Okay.
going to eat the carbs just by themselves. Okay. Don't add all the other proteins and eat the protein later.
That's so weird for your mind to even conceive that, because it's like, well, we're used to eating all three together. And
Right.
carbs and veggies are good. Meat and veggies are good, but fruits before you eat, not after meal, fruit before meal.
Or fruit only once a day at the same time every day.
Mhm.
So the body's trained to do something with the fruit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she gave me some good tips for, green apples are the only apples. She's saying green apples are the best.
For intestinal
You're-
health, yes. But I
Mhm.
have to say those golden red apples are amazing, and those Granny Smith apples are too. And I love mandarin oranges.
Yeah, those are nice, man.
Yep.
Yeah, well, nice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So anyways, that, I was wondering what you thought about that food combining.
Yeah, I agree, very much agree with it. But it's not conducive to cooking, is it?
Well, you can't eat
No.
lasagna, can you, for start?
Okay.
I love lasagna.
Okay. Thus,
Yeah.
if you're going to have a carb plate, have the carb plate. But if you know also the right way of combining foods and the right way of doing it, that's the same thing. If you're going to do weight training, when do you eat your protein? Before or after?
I always thought after to
Well,
replace
there are
the
people
muscle.
there are people that give the protein in the little amounts of sugar that the drinks have. Okay. So that means they're processing protein powder immediately to turn into muscle, which again trains the body a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Or having the real protein bomb after the exercise.
Cool. Yeah.
Like before you go to sleep.
Eat the protein, Laura, before you go to sleep.
Okay. And yet there's people that want to survive off of protein shakes, and they wonder why they're not
Mm-mm.
losing weight and they're just starving themselves to death. Because
Mm-mm.
protein powder is not meant to be used that way. It's not meant as a meal alternative.
I
No.
don't get what. So on Instagram once, I looked at this Instagram page and they were selling, like meal replacements. It was basically just all of it in a shake. And I'm thinking, how the fuck are they getting away with actually advertising that this can be your meal replacement for the full year? If you just pay £10 a day and you just get this powder and it's got everything in there.
There is a company out there called Huel, Huel.
That's it.
It's actually a meal replacement. Okay. And they have designed it in such a way that you can absorb the foods very fast and all the nutrients that are within them. Okay. And it is a way to train the body through the system that they have for you to have a complete balanced diet system that has your food meal replacements or your things to do for an extremely busy person. Okay. And it isn't cheap. So if you're looking to go to Huel.com, Huel.com, and their black method is the more expensive one, but you can learn just by reading the science about it. Okay. And you can do a lot of this stuff on your own. You don't need their shake to do it. Okay. You can do it with any other decent quality shake material. It's just knowing when and how to combine everything.
So how would that work with the fuel for the intestinal tract, to actually have some matter to like pet fuel?
Well, even the black meal system has solid food to eat. It's not all liquid foods.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's not all
Fair
liquid.
enough.
It's not all liquid foods. It's not that way. This is for high level athletes too, that need to function, that need 6,000-7,000 calories per day just to work out. You guys remember the American Michael Phelps that won all those swimming medals? He was averaging a 12,000 calorie breakfast, just breakfast. Think about it, a 12,000 calorie breakfast. Okay. And then a 10,000 calorie lunch, and maybe a 7,000 calorie dinner.
Be quite nice.
And that's also, he has instant reserve, right? Instant reserve energy everywhere he goes too. Okay, built into the muscle system. Okay.
What about
back in the day, 200 years ago, you didn't live off of 2,000 calories a day. You lived off about 12,000 calories a day because everything was floated in lard or bacon grease or butter or oil.
What about cheat days? Does that work really well? Say if you have a really strict diet for the week, then on one day of the week you can eat as much.
If the cheat day is the exact same day every week, it's fine. If it's a random cheat day, it actually does more damage to the discipline, commitment, and courage, and what the body's trying to do is getting set. If your cheat day is Sunday, meaning you can do whatever you want to do on Sunday, but Monday you go right back to it, you're set. The body prepares for that.
I might try that one. I tried it once. Yeah, I think it worked for like 4 weeks. That's like, then the cheat day became every day again.
Right, the cheat day became every day again. All right, Amy, we want to move on to the next.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Nice to
Take care.
You too, guys.
Bye.
So we're going to give Dandelion Healing Things at signal to unmute. Donnie, how you doing?
Am I
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
What did you think of today's show? I see you a big time chitter chattering down there.
Yes. Lot to say in the chat.
I'm sorry, guys, but I've had 50 years in healthcare and dentistry and medicine, and my specialty for the past 30 years is brain health. So, yeah, so some stuff I totally agree with you, and some stuff I don't agree with, and that's okay, right?
Yeah,
Everyone
we can agree. We can agree to disagree. We are not Democrats
Absolutely.
or Republicans. Exactly.
Absolutely. So with my focus here in Canada with First Nations and individuals suffering brain health, mental wellness, and addictions, feeding the brain first is the most important thing. So that's why I was making all those comments like I was doing, because a lot of people in the nutrition industry thinks that you have to feed the body first, but
not in recovery situations. You have to feed the brain first.
Yeah, at all times. It doesn't matter from before couples even conceive children. They need to feed their brains first to develop very healthy offspring. But I made a note, if you bring me on, I don't want to be roasted today, but the latest research, and this is so cool, with regards to functional suicide prevention is individuals that are genetically predisposed to suicide. Epigenetically, it doesn't have to happen that way, but studies done with people with eating disorders found that any whole cholesterol levels below 140 put you at extremely high risk for suicide, even 3-year-olds. I mean, that's why I came out of retirement. I was retired. I closed down my healing center in Rosslyn and Trail in 2016. And when my girlfriend that worked at Children's Hospital in Alberta, she's the therapeutic caring clown there, she told me that 3-year-olds were cutting themselves and lining the hallways there. Well, that got me off my ass because I have a 3-year-old grandson. And I'm like, that's not going to happen on my watch.
Yeah, but
So,
those 3-year-olds cutting themselves is oftentimes those parents were on depression medicines long before they got pregnant, and that's the child taking on the depression medicine, forcing a depression on them that's not supposed to be there, as well as a variety of other prenatal dietary issues that the parents came into extremely lacking.
Well, and that's where the folates are so important. You know, they the greens, right? Oh, every time I smell a container of greens, I just about gag and puke. It's just gross to me because I'm an undermethylated individual. In brain health, that means I'm high histamine. Okay, so greens, folates are not good. I can have my salads and my spinaches every once in a while and the kales and all that kind of stuff. But I have to focus on a lean meat and fat diet to keep myself healthy, especially as an elder. I'm 62. Hopefully my body looks 40 now because I've been really working on it post-cancer.
Have you ever tried to do a blue-green algae therapy?
No, because as long as it doesn't go through my GI tract, maybe through my skin, that would be okay. But
no, it's really, really simple. So blue-green algae, it's something you can do during a colonic. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I think about colonics, Andrew.
No. So at the very end, after you've expelled everything and the lower intestine was clear, they take a dropper that has concentrated blue-green algae in it, and they add it to a 1/4 gallon of water, and then you just let yourself fill up with that, and your intestinal tract will absorb the blue-green algae by bypassing the liver completely, going right into the blood. The blue-green algae is immediately seen as blood. Okay.
Right.
And then we'll grab all the excess toxins. And then as you do the final expel, you'll have a major expelling of harsh amounts of toxins that are stuck in the blood. Now, this is something that you can do outside of colonics too. After you've done, let's say, a good purge, you can do your own blue-green algae enema and on a regular basis. And then also the first meal that you eat, before you eat anything, you take a cup of water and put blue-green algae into it, like the droppers of it, and the stomach will immediately bypass it and recognize it as blood, and it'll bypass the liver again, which will double up a way of adding blood into because again, the body sees blue-green algae as if it were red blood cells.
Yeah.
Which then allows it to oxygenate everything more and then produce more stem cells. Yeah,
which is essential for healing.
Which might work great for the situation because you need to have that low lean fat diet, which means it's harder to expel some of the bigger toxins because your fibers may not be consistent enough throughout the entire intestinal tract to deposit heavy duty materials.
Yeah. And again, your metabolism, particularly for, the divine feminine, changes, oh my God, so much more. Guys do too, but not anywhere near the extremes that I've experienced in my healing practice over the last 50 plus years, right? In seeing women's hormones health. Oh my God, I'm telling you, I've just experienced that myself personally. And, switching back and forth between keto and then more like the diabetic type diet. There's some positive things about Weight Watchers, but I fucking couldn't be bothered weighing my food every day. It's like, no, I just want to eat this. It looks so good.
Yeah, but weighing it is such a huge part of that process.
I know.
And I back it up. You got to weigh it. You got to know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, food, well, that's why I do nutrient psychiatry, right? I mean, that's the leading edge in dealing with all health conditions worldwide.
Well,
We just did a presentation at Northern Health in the hospital here, and they were shocked at what I'd researched and written over the last 30 years, right? Because it's so important and so neglected. And one of my sayings in my books that I've written is, they don't serve you great food in the hospital because they don't want you to stay long, right?
Nope.
Nope. You don't want to stay long in that facility. That's when you get exposed to all the superbugs, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I was excited when I, read that you guys were going to be discussing food, because that's my area of expertise when it comes to whole body healing and particularly brain health. So, because we're in an epidemic. We're in an epidemic.
I 100%. We're in a mental disease epidemic and a physical disease epidemic. Absolutely agree there. And food, if you were to take control of your lifestyle and get back to that regular Hearthstone cooking and find a cooking style and exercise cycle that can work for you, you could radically change your life with simple discipline, simple commitment, and simple courage.
Yeah. And it like you say, it's simple and it doesn't take a lot. Start with baby steps first, as in everything.
Right. Learn how to make a soup. Learn how to make a soup first versus a stew. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay? Learn how to cook small volumes versus enough for 3 or 4.
Well, especially, as a single woman, that I am, cooking for myself, I usually make a bit of a batch so that I put stuff in the freezer. And if I've, been doing,
you're smart. You know how to use a freezer. There are so many millennials out there that don't even know that what a freezer is.
Oh my God.
Okay?
Exactly. But, it's just really, it can be challenging as a single person. That's why those Meals on Wheels and great opportunities in this day and age for people to, there shouldn't be anyone that goes hungry. I mean, in this area of First Nations that I'm at in the Caribou, it's unbelievable the free food programs that are available to seniors, to all people, street people everywhere. It's beautiful. I have not ever seen that in any community. And I've traveled Turtle Island quite a bit because of when I lectured in dentistry. So, it's an amazing thing that First Nations have really supported that. And my working buddy, Archie Shantyman, who's a medicine man here with First Nations in the Luscas Dene Nation, has taught me so much about food sustainability. And we are the breadbasket here in Western Canada for sure, all the way, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. There shouldn't be any food shortages. And the key is, that 100-mile radius. I did that when I purchased product for my healing center, but the same thing with nutrients and food, like right now, you guys, a head of iceberg lettuce, which is the crappiest lettuce for nutrition value, is over $5 a head. And romaine lettuce here,
meat that's now 97% fat free.
Yeah.
That's the next thing. It used to be 80-20, 60-40. Now it's 97, 98% fat free. That is considered by all butchers throughout the world the lowest quality of meat possible.
Yep. And it doesn't taste that good.
No, it doesn't taste like anything. Right.
No, it's gross. It's like chewing on your tongue or something. Right. It's crazy, right? But,
all right, sorry, darling. We got to let you go. We've got to move on to the next caller. We've got a certain amount of time left. All right, darling. Take it easy. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Bye.
All right. So let's go. Jason, signal to unmute.
Yes, I accept.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you? Thanks for calling on me.
What did you think of today's show so far?
I really like it. Oh, cannot start video. Oh, I really like it a lot. I was very excited. Everything that we've talked about, I've just been folding into practical use for healing. It's something about an accumulative practice process So in the beginning, we were talking about the the sacred kitchen, dancing, singing, putting your intentions into the actions, which I brought up with Laura the other day. That's actually part of mise en place, is having a good attitude and being prepared and setting things up, liking the way you chop, being just a part of the process and honoring it like that. And
Having
alchemy,
fun with it.
yeah, just having fun with it, making it beautiful. And I wanted to offer to everyone, if you haven't seen it, the on Netflix, the series, The Chef's Table. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, great series. Yes.
Isn't that awesome? From the use of fire to the use of the different cooking modalities, and and then there was the woman who was a monk, but then she, you could see what it really looks like to actually like pray into your food. And some of the people who ate her food were like, this is the best food I've ever eaten, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
So let me ask you, I know it's hard to pin down, but what was the most unique food you ever had?
The most unique food I've ever had, I've chewed on a bunch of feet. I've actually bought heart and glands from a farm down the street here in South Jersey, believe it or not, and I prepared heart for myself with the intention of what I was doing. That was pretty unique. The intestine, but balls were pretty interesting because
Rocky Mountain oysters, yes, they were very difficult for me to eat the first time.
Have you ever?
And then I had them uniquely deep fried instead of pan fried, because pan fried they still look like a pair of fucking severed balls.
Right. I actually had the balls and had to cut the casing. And when I tell you, it makes you very intimately have a relationship with it, like zing in your stomach. But then chopping it up and having it was kind of like scallops, it's actually quite beautiful if you can.
Right, and then you run across the bowl balls, which are like the size of your fist.
Right.
And then you deep fry those. Those are like deep fried oysters.
Exactly. But no, I love the whole process with food, and I have your food revocation on the fridge, and it's in my intentions when I prepare food, to acknowledge it. And I'm drinking homemade bone broth right now as we speak. And
how long did you cook your bone broth down for?
3 days, bro.
There you go.
3 days. I did.
The best way to do it is if you find yourself a beef knuckle bone, like the knee bone, and just cook that thing down 3, 4, 5 days.
Yep. And I put my alchemy and my intentions and prayer into it, and a little bit of valuable spice. That was quite a comment, blowing everybody's mind with that. And like, did you know that in your spice rack there's a fortune? I was like, holy shit! Pinch of cinnamon.
Yeah. In the old days, you're lucky if you found anything other than salt.
Yeah, it really makes you reassess what it is we're doing out here, and the gray areas that you can be responsible for, in just the flip of the way that you can perceive it, and the way that you get behind it and actually produce and be with it.
Exactly.
It's been extremely valuable. There was one question I wanted to ask personally.
Sure.
As far as colonics, I've had a couple, and I was wondering if I should be going more to a professional, because I always want more, and I'm kind of like sitting on one of those self-do-it machines. It's in a place, and it pumps 8 and plus gallons into you, and I do my own massage. But some of the things I hear you talking about, you guys, I'm like, whoa, I want that. I want to see, these things.
So you need to go to someone that has a self-recirculating system, that actually is a colonic specialist, that actually sits down with you and goes through the entire process. And we'll often do stomach massage on you to gather more to create more peristalsis, so more stuff can be expelled, teach you how to hold it in for longer periods of time so it can go further up the intestinal tract. And once you start getting fluid on some of the more petrified stuff inside you, it can create a gas that could rapidly expel, or it's like opening a can of beer. All of a sudden, foam starts shooting down.
Right.
Or they can tell, all right, we're breaking into the section where there's all this unchewed food that's been stored and stored and stored, and yet they're unable to break it down, and there's big colonies of everything growing on it that don't do anything other than steal your energy.
Right. I was I would like the name Amy when you have a chance.
Yeah. And then here's something else for people to think out there. If you are one of those lazy white light workers who wants a career and wants to make a mid six figures from a starting business, if you can deal with shit, quite literally shit, okay, for 1 2-month class, which is certified Colonic certified specialist, which is about $2,000, maybe $1,500, and one machine which costs around $2,500 or $3,500, you can have a mid six figure a year business. That's $250,000 a year net. If you can deal with shit.
Right.
They are that in demand worldwide.
That's incredible. And that I could co-create with my martyr gang mob and maybe get something done out here, right?
There you go. Ice cream and colonics.
Can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. Ice cream in the winter, in the summer, and colonics in the winter.
Well, don't put that on air for too many people. That's maybe that won't go over so well with my customers.
Well, they won't know. I mean, you're not going to call it ice cream colonic store. Comes out like smooth served.
Right.
Selling ice cream Colonic sign this way.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, guys.
Or they're going to shove ice cream in your colonic. Oh, talk about brain freeze.
Have an ice cream while you're having a colonic.
Yes.
No blue-green algae for me. Just throw up some chocolate in there.
Might be a bit off putting the chocolate.
So when you actually visit a real colonic therapist, they give you more than just blue-green algae. They give a variety of other things that will go right into your rectum area and immediately go right into your intestinal tract. And if you're in an area where you can get water soluble CBD, you can direct absorb CBD through the same thing.
Yeah, I can.
So yes, there's a way. There's a whole different way of treating people internally if you know what you're doing. Because in the ancient days, when they shoved the horn up your ass and filled you up with water, that means you were about to die, and that's something they do to bring people back to life. Whatever herbs or shit that they can shove in there and boil down and shove up your ass and hope you hold in long enough. Okay, it's going to save your life.
Yeah. Excellent. It's my birthday to guys today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jason.
Happy birthday.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to wish
may your
you all...
colonic dreams come true.
I went for a colonic on my birthday once. I remember what the fuck am I doing? I was like...
Classic light worker goes for a colonic on his birthday.
That was about 6 years ago.
But I thank you for an exciting show, and I'll let you move on to another caller, and I look forward to talking to you all again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for calling in.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys, let's call it an end to the show today. All right, everybody, we will be back next Thursday, the 8th, for ongoing intelligent conversation that is next leveling your healing experience. Any last words, Laura or Dale?
No, great show. Thanks very much. Thanks for everybody who came on and those who are listening, past, present, future.
And yeah, again, thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Joel, take us away.